Hi, good afternoon. This is Patty with the Florida Bed and Breakfast Inns. This will be our last series from the 2016 Florida Sunshine Conference. Scott Fuller Beatty of Think Reservations will be presenting yield management techniques. And Scott, I'm glad to have you, and go ahead with your presentation.
Great, thank you, Patty. Today's presentation, like Patty said, is going to be about yield management techniques to automate the back office. We also have a few other topics thrown in there that kind of reach into the broader range of yield management and what that means and the tools that you can use for your business to help you basically make more revenue. To start, to introduce myself, I'm E. Scott Fuller Beatty. I am not only do I work for Think Reservations, but I'm also an innkeeper owner myself. I own the Chadwick Bed and Breakfast in Portland, Maine. And through my job in the innkeeping world and with Think Reservations, I've spoken and worked with lots of innkeepers in small lodging properties. I also serve on the membership committee for AIHP, and I'm on a couple other of the state bed and breakfast associations with my job through Think Reservations. I'm all around nice guy. Just look at that glamour shot. We need to get a bigger budget to get some better shots up here. But moving forward, what is yield management? Yield management is sort of a confusing process for some people. They just really don't know what it is. They get confused with the term. So I like to break it down into what yield management really is. And what you need to walk away with is your yield is your profit. It's how much profit your business has the potential of making using yield management itself. We all work with a perishable resource, meaning that once today is done, any rooms that we sold, we do not have the opportunity to sell that room again. So the whole idea behind yield management is how do we get those rooms sold before they perish, before we have no ability to sell them again. So it then raises the question of who should be looking into yield management and using yield management for their businesses. Businesses that report higher ADRs, people who use yield management, the businesses that use them, they report higher ADRs and higher revenue year after year. It's a simple way to increase your revenue year after year without necessarily putting more strain on your property. Yield management itself sounds very complicated to people. They don't know exactly the first steps, what they should do. The answer really to that is you need to do what is right for your property, and you need to have the skills to be able to test what you're trying to do if it is actually something that is working for you. So it's getting, like I said here, let's focus on getting 80% of the results we want with 20% of the work to do that. There are lots of pricing strategies out there for yield management, and you will want to, we're going to talk about a few of those different pricing strategies right now. For every business, every answer is not the right option. So this is really going to be more dependent on you knowing your property to make that work best for you. So let's talk about how to price. Yield management really is the idea of supply and demand. When you have high supply, or when you have supply and high demand, that means that you're selling your rooms at a faster rate, which means that you have the potential of possibly selling those rooms for more. We see that on Amazon right now, especially with Christmas and at stores. As items sell out, what is happening to their prices? The prices are going up. I'm looking at getting the new VR, Sony PlayStation VR for someone for Christmas, and I can't buy it anywhere. It's not at Target, it's not at Walmart, it's not at GameStop. And normally it's only $299. But if I go to Amazon right now, the supply is so depleted that they're now selling them for $600, $700, $800. So unfortunately for that person, they aren't getting a PlayStation VR this year, at least not for Christmas. When your supply is high but your demand is low, we're going to look at the opposite end of things of how do we get some of that traction to get some of those rooms to move. When we have high supply but low demand, in the real world, the price of that product goes down. Most people really think that the yield management really has to deal with discounting their rooms to increase people coming to their website. We really feel like that's the wrong approach. And when I work with Think Reservations customers, if you really think about it, your low season is where you have high availability, lower demand than in your high season. And also coupled on top of that, you've probably already priced your rooms at a lower rate as well. So you have to work 2, 3, even 4 times harder to make the same amount of money that you could if you apply yield management rules to when you have that high demand already in place, which is during your peak season. We then take it to another level, and I want you to think about the peaks within your peak season. So we all know that there's weekends that happen each and every year that have a higher demand and always book out way in advance. For me, that would be 4th of July weekend or the weekends around 4th of July. In Maine, children's summer camps are a huge thing, and the summer camps usually have 2 weekends a year that are called Parents' Weekends, where the parents come and visit, and they're usually booking those out as they're walking out the door for the next year. And any that are open are usually booked 6 months in advance. So I know that those are weekends that I'm going to fully book no matter what, and there's going to be a high demand on them. So I want you to start thinking about where are your peaks within your peak season. The reason why I want you to think of that is because how many people are you saying no to who want to make a reservation at your property? We know that customers today are booking more and more last minute than ever before. We see that in our own booking data, in our own in the phone calls that we receive. You probably receive a lot of phone calls, especially around those peak weekends that you have in your peak season. You're getting phone calls right up to the last minute, to the same night, sometimes even at 9 o'clock at night on that Friday night when you already have all your guests checked in. So if you're selling those, selling out, and I'm using weekends as the example, but if you're selling out an entire weekend 6 weeks in advance, 8 weeks in advance, or even 6 months in advance, you really have to ask yourself, how many people did you just turn down, and how many of those people would have been willing to pay more for those rooms than what you actually sold them at? Now, most of you can identify the weekends that you completely sell out in weeks in advance. You are thinking in your head probably right now of a couple examples of those. You may also have local events that happen in your area. Maybe you have a car show, or you have an old home show, or a concert that happens every year where you are. And those happen annually on the same, they follow a pattern year after year. So that's a way, moving away from the weekend example, that's kind of moving into the weekday example. But a way to track this is to create for yourself a simple Excel file with 4 columns. Name the column, which, put all your weekends on the column, and then start figuring out how many weeks in advance did you go over. And I used 85% or 80%, or when were you mostly booked? 75%, 90%. It really depends on the size of your property. And then you want to consider how much do you want to raise it this year for those weekends. Raising it, giving yourself a chance to possibly make some more money during those high demand times. And then another column that I'd like you to have is how many weeks in advance do you want to drop the rate back down to a regular price in case you haven't reached that occupancy goal for that time period. In this case, in my example, on the weekend. The really nice thing about yield management and using it within your reservation system is you really have the ability to try to test this out. You can raise those rates, and then you want to, for your own safety, you can create that time when you say, okay, if I haven't booked the room by this date, I'm going to either bring it down back to its regular normal price to try to book it, or I am going to, if it got to be like the day of, a couple days before, you could even reduce the rate, because that is yield management also, pushing rooms that you need to sell last minute as well. So this really gives you that control, and it kind of puts in some safety gaps for you to practice using yield management without having a negative effect. The only result it can end in, especially if you're giving time for those rooms to rebook. Let's say you say 4 weeks before the reservation comes up, I'm not comfortable leaving at the higher rate, I really want to get that room booked, then go ahead and change it back. You still have 4 weeks to get that price for it. But by following these steps, you're really only allowing yourself to make more money because you are testing out the waters with by putting your rooms at a higher rate. There is a lot of value in doing this because it also gives you something to work with for your pricing strategy, your overall base pricing strategy for the following year. If you find, for example, I'll use my property as an example. Last year, I should say for 2016, for the summer of 2015, my rooms were all priced in the summertime during our peak weekend or during our weekends at $250. I started using yield management, and I'd increase those rates to $275 each night. And I was finding that I was still booking those rooms at the same pace. And we'll talk about a booking pace report later on. But I found that I was booking those rooms at the same pace, even though I had raised them $25 for each night, and I happened to also require Friday and Saturday nights to be booked together. So in essence, I was making $50 more on each one of my rooms that weekend. Because I was able to use that, because I was still able to book those on pace, what I realized is that this was that I had already put my price point too low. There were people willing to pay the extra money to come. And I had guests who had paid the year before, who were return guests, that were willing to pay the different price. They understand that prices do go up every year. But I was able to get even more new faces through the door that were willing to spend more. So what that told me is that in the summer of 2016, this past summer, that instead of starting with a base rate of $250, my base rate was actually $275. And then I built my yield management on top of the $275. So I went from having rooms that I had previously sold at $250, now those were all being sold at $275. And then this summer I was able to sell those for $275 or more using additional yield management. Another great way to test if your prices are the same is simply pick a week in the future and pick a weeknight and just change your Monday nights to a different price compared to your Tuesday night. See if you end up getting more bookings on Tuesday night. If you get more bookings on Tuesday night, then that price change, that additional money on Monday, wasn't working out for you. It wasn't a good plan for you. But if you're able to still book Mondays just as easily as you booked Tuesdays, then you may be presenting yourself with the question of, am I pricing myself too low? Now, one of the things I like to really point out with yield management and working with your rate types, this is really moving innkeepers, bed and breakfast owners, small boutique hotels away from this idea of the rack card, or the idea that your rooms are always the same price, or that you have seasonal pricing and that in this season this room is always this amount. Let's be honest, today's consumer does not expect that. It is something that innkeepers are really holding on to. Even on our websites, we're very used to saying that this room ranges from this to that, or it's this exact cost in the low season, this much in the shoulder season, and this much in the high season, which kind of negates the ability for you to use yield management. When you advertise prices like that, people expect to pay that price. But when you give a great room description and you give a price range, or you just don't include prices on your website and force them into your booking engine to get those prices, what they see is what they get, really. For my property on the chadwick.com, I actually have my room prices. I do have a room range on there. I'm testing out a couple different approaches to this. And right now I'm testing out the having an actual room range price there. And the lowest price that you see for a room is absolutely the lowest price I would ever offer that room for in the depths of the low season. So in mid-January and February for me here in Portland, Maine. But my high price range, I've actually added to that $25 or $50 more than what I would ever actually charge for that room. So then when people go into my booking engine and they see that the room is only $299 as opposed to $349, then they instantly feel like they're receiving a deal because it's definitely not priced at the highest price it could be. It also then gives you that flexibility so that when people call and say, hey, it says on your website your room ranges go from $0 to $250. Why is the room $275 in the booking engine? You already have yourself covered for that. You don't need to answer that question. And God forbid you ever do get the question, you simply say, rates change based on demand. Other hotels do it. The major hotel brands are doing it. Airline tickets do this. This is what people expect. I mentioned earlier the opposite side of yield management is also making it easy for rooms to sell if they are available last minute. And that's the opposite of raising rates. It's lowering those rates to hopefully entice people to make those bookings. And you can use that last minute. It's for me, I always say if I already have other people staying here and I already have other staff on the books, I always look at that extra $150, $100 in the low season or whatever as just more money in my pocket. I'd rather get that than let the room sit there and make $0 for the night. It's also really important that your property management system lets you make these changes easily. Specifically with Think Reservations, this is a screenshot of Think Reservations. We make it very easy for customers to go in and actually change those individual room rates. Actually, going back to the last slide, I wanted to go back to this 2 weeks, make changes to your rates based on supply and demand. Is to really take a look at this, your rate, whether you're using Think Reservations or another program out there, look at where you have your reservations and where you think you can make those adjustments. For instance, where the gray areas are, these are where room reservations already exist. We could easily say, oh, it's December 1st today, and I'm nervous that this last room isn't going to sell, or maybe I am confident that it is going to sell. So I can either decide to raise this rate up or down. Same thing with the week after. It looks like we have a lot of rooms booked already for this weekend, so why not bump this room up to the $271 or the $281 and make an extra $20, $10, $20 extra a night because we have time. Come Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, I could always lower it back down if it hasn't sold. Same thing with like a weekend that is coming up where we see that there is no bookings for Friday and Saturday night. I may be saying, oh, we're 2 weeks ahead of that schedule. Maybe I need to go ahead and run some sort of promotion that will help me push to make sure that I get some of those rooms sold. But ultimately, you want to make sure that the property management system allows you to make these changes easily and effectively. And I really do think it is your job as a business owner to sit down and look at your rates, your upcoming weeks, and your availability. Set some time aside every Monday for 15 minutes. That's what I do. Every Monday for 15 minutes, sit down, look at your occupancy, look at where your reservations are, look at your prices, and make adjustments as you see fit to help you make more money. The other thing that you want to have in your reservation system is the ability to have these changes happen automatically. These rate changes happen automatically. So being able to set up rules within your property management system to say how it should behave, whether if we want to have, if our occupancy is between a certain level, and they're booking 5 days to 20 days in the future, in this case 5 days to infinity, we're going to go ahead and add $15 or add 15%. You also want to be able to set rules to do the opposite, that if you're, in this case, between 0 and 40%, and they're booking between today and 5 days from now, if a room is still available, we want to automatically adjust that rate by $15 or 15% down. You want to have that ability to set up rules based on how far they are booking in the future or how near. I won't say most, but a lot of property management systems out there already support this. So you should definitely be using these tools. And our customers, they report higher ADR in their peak seasons because of this feature. It's automatically adjusting for them. So let's talk about some key performance indicators. So many of you probably already use tools within your PMS system to gain some reports about how well you are doing. One of those numbers that people really they focus on is the occupancy percentage. What is my occupancy? What's my booking percentage? And that's really the number of rooms sold by the number of rooms available, and that equals your occupancy. That's really useful in identifying occupancy trends year to year. And if you see that your property is booking over 50%, that's a great indicator that your property is probably doing better than the majority of bed and breakfasts out there. We're seeing that on average, people book at an occupancy level of around 50%. If you're higher than that, that's great. That's wonderful. Your business is turning from a hobby to a true business. And if you go higher than that, you probably are finding that your business has become quite profitable if your rooms are priced properly. The next good measurement is ADR, average daily rate, which to calculate that number, it's the total room revenue, just what was spent on the room, not any additional items or anything like that, just the actual cost of that room for the night, divided by the number of rooms that you sold. And that tells you the average daily rate of each one of your rooms in a time period that was sold. ADR itself is not enough to measure performance, however, because it's really only telling you how much each room costs during a date range that you have. It really doesn't tell you, it doesn't combine the factors of, well, how many of those rooms did you book? I could sell 2 rooms this month for $600 and one for $800, and it would say my ADR is $700. That sounds really great, except it doesn't take into account that I had literally hundreds of rooms open still. RevPAR is another useful number in that takes the total room revenue, again without the items and any other just the pure base rate of the room, divided by the available rooms that you have. So if you're a 4-room property and there's 30 days in that month, you have 120 rooms available that month. So you're going to take that whole room the revenue that you had divided by the 120, and that gives you a RevPAR, which really helps you determine, okay, how much if each one of these rooms was filled, how much money did I make off of each one of them every night? So that's a bit more of a useful number, and you can definitely compare that year to year and with market surveys if you have those from your area. Combining all this data together gives you more information about the health of your property, about the health of your business, but the last component that is often missing from property management systems is a booking pace report. And a booking pace report is used by the hotel industry all the time. That's what helps them make these decisions about when to raise rates and when to lower rates. It truly is the most useful report you can have. So if your property management system doesn't have a booking pace report, it really is a report that's missing that can really help you make these decisions about yield management. I say look at it every 2 weeks or more frequently if you can. Before I had said sit down for 15 minutes every Monday to look ahead at the future reservations, and as you see events or hear of events, make sure you're making those rate adjustments on your calendar. But your booking pace report, if you put that into that same time slot, it can really help you decide if you're booking at pace. So what is booking at pace? So what you are doing in most systems when you want to compare December of this year to December of last year, you're going to see the numbers for today compared to the numbers at the end of December last year. But that's not really useful because you then are just, all you're doing is putting that number. Say I had booked 100 rooms last December. You're really just kind of putting that as a carrot in front of you to say, okay, I have to get to 100 rooms to book as well as I did last December. But it really doesn't indicate when did those reservations come in for that. So when I look here on the screen, at this comparison, let me go back, sorry about that. When I look here, I can see that I've created a report that says, as of January 1st, staying between January 1st and January 31st. How did my reservation system look as of January 1st last year, staying between January 1st and January 31st? So it's not the total number of rooms that I sold last January. It's a true comparison of how did I look the same date last year. And this number could be the middle of the month. It could be any day that you wanted to say. But I can see from this report here that as of right now, or as of the date of this report the slide being created, that I was actually booking above pace compared to the year before. So I had 59 rooms booked for January, when on January 1st of the previous year, I only had 55 rooms booked for that day. So I can see that now this is already giving me an indication that my demand is slightly higher and my supply is slightly lower. I can also see that my average rate this year, that I've actually sold these extra rooms for slightly more than what I sold the rooms for last year. So there's been a slight increase there. We can also see that because of that, the room subtotal has increased. And then we can see that items have been added here. This is telling us that if I were looking at that month, that there were people who had more items on their bills, like upsellable items that we have. And then the total gives us the total of how well we're doing with the rooms and items combined. Now for me, this number is a great number. The number of nights booked is great to tell us if we're booking on pace, which is the point of the report. However, I am okay with these numbers being in the red as long as my average rate is going up, which will then mean my room subtotal is going up. I want to make sure that I'm selling more items, or at least the same amount of items, which will then affect my subtotal as well. So as long as these numbers here are in the green, the average rate through the subtotal, I'm okay with my booking pace going down because it means that I'm making at least as much money as I was last year with less wear and tear on my inn, less wear and tear on myself, less wear and tear on my staff. As long as I'm making more money or the same amount of money, I'm okay with this number going down. But this is a great report basically to help you say, if I were looking at these numbers, I'd probably say we should probably keep the numbers the same, they're working out, or I would actually probably say, I'm gonna go ahead and raise my rates $10 for the remaining rooms to try to get more money for those, $10, $15, maybe even $20. I would then compare a week or two later and see that, I could then compare a week or two later and see if I was then on booking pace. So if I was checking then on January 15th, I could say booked as of January 15th compared to January 15th of last year. If I've now seen my booking pace go down, then that's an indicator that maybe I should bring my rates back to where they were. Or it could be an indicator, if I've sold more rooms, then great, the technique's working and I'm only getting more money in my pocket for less work. So then as far as, not just playing with rates, there's other ways that you can use to increase your occupancy, sell more rooms as a whole. Customers shop in different ways, and especially in today's world, and especially when it comes to bed and breakfasts. Probably 10 years ago, the majority of your business was done over the phone. People called to make a reservation. We saw a very big change about 8-7 years ago in the industry, where online reservations were kind of introduced to small lodging. And we started using programs like Reservations and stuff like that. Now, today, the demand is mostly online. And people want to be able to book online. They want to be able to go to your website and they want to be able to make that booking. So we want to be able to reach out to different types of customers who want to book in different ways. We want to meet their needs of how they shop. So that really brings up the question of OTAs, and why are OTAs important? OTAs, in case we don't know exactly what they are, OTAs stand for Online Travel Agencies. They include Booking.com, Expedia, TripAdvisor, BedAndBreakfast.com, Airbnb. Others out there are VRBO, I've seen a lot of emails about Hotel Bonanza lately. Um, but they can really help drive more customers to your business. Uh, Gone are the days, unfortunately, where your business can just survive. Well, let me take that back. I want to think how I want to say that. Your business can survive with just a website, but if you want to be visible and you want to be seen online, Google now is looking for your rates, and unfortunately, they aren't going to your website to find your rates. They are going to the easy, they're taking the easy route, and they're basically looking for your property on OTAs to see if they can get prices for you. Lisa at Acorn, I'm sure in her presentation talked a lot about this. I'm also sure Pat from Inside Out spoke a lot about this in there, so I'm not going to go into great detail about it. But it is affecting how you're being placed in Google search results. These companies, they use a commission-based model, meaning that you pay them only when they actually help your business. For Expedia and Booking.com, it's usually a 15% commission for those reservations that you're paying them. So let's talk about how these commission models work and how you should use them. We really believe that you should only use OTAs when you actually need the assistance. And the reason why I say that is because then it really changes your mindset of how you think and feel about your relationship with these OTAs. If you're a business that consistently books on, let's go back to the 4th of July weekend example. If you know you can book that weekend on your own with phone calls and your own web traffic, it really raises the question of why would you make that available to an OTA to have the pleasure of booking it for you and taking 15% commission on top of what you could do. So going back to your booking engine in your, not your booking engine, your property management system, you want to make sure that your property management system and your channel manager with them really gives you the flexibility to make what you want to make available when you want to make it available. So times when you do need that assistance to book extra rooms. The reason why I say it changes your mindset is because when you can book those rooms direct and make the money that you want to off of those, and you make rooms that you aren't sure if you're going to be able to sell or not to those OTAs, then in essence, they are making you 85% as opposed to you losing 15%. You are using them to help build your occupancy, help get people in your doors, and hopefully those people, if they become return guests, become direct bookers down the road. So it's really putting you in the driver's seat with that relationship with the OTAs. OTAs also provide the billboard effect. And the billboard effect really can be summed up as this. If you only have a web page, and let's say you have a Facebook page, the only places people are going to find you on the World Wide Web is on Facebook or by going directly to your web page or in a Google search or a Yahoo search. By putting your businesses, using these other businesses, you are now putting your business on their website as well. And someone who did not necessarily look for you or look for a bed and breakfast even, they may now see you on these other channels and which could direct them to your website to book directly with you. They still may book through that channel, but some of those bookings may come directly to you to book directly. One of the things that I've heard during webinars like this and also at conferences is that the average shopper is actually looking at you on over 10 websites. They've seen your name before they build any sort of recognition to you, recognition of your brand, recognition of your property, before they even start to trust you. If they start to see you on multiple websites, it actually builds that trust in you, and hopefully that results in a direct booking. And if it does result in a booking through the OTA, hopefully when they come back, it is a direct booking there. So it's just building that familiarity with your brand. Some advanced ideas of working with the OTAs to help your yield is to set up a room as a loss leader on the OTAs. This really gets eyes on your business. Maybe you take your least expensive room that you have and you make that room available to the OTAs. And if that room books up either over the phone or it books up through the OTA, then add another room to the OTA itself so that people can see, so that they're seeing your property online. But I also want you to identify your break-even point. You can try lowering that rate in the off-season to compete against your competition, but only do that if that actually raises your occupancy. If you're not raising your occupancy, then that means people were okay paying the price that you had it for. It just means that in your off-season that you have less people coming in. So maybe you can play with that pricing to see exactly what that pricing point is. I'm going to go stay on the slide for a second because oftentimes I get asked like, oh, should I make prices available at a, should I cost more on the OTAs? And the answer to that really is more of a question for you. If you are able to, if you're putting your rates higher on the OTAs, which in most cases your contract says you cannot do that, you need to have price parity across all channels. But if you're doing that and you're finding that you're booking rooms just fine at that higher rate, it really asks the question of why aren't you charging that rate anyway on your site? Why are you incorporating their commissions into the price that you're putting in there if you could literally be making 10, 15% more on your rooms directly from your website? So I really want you to kind of think about that if you ask yourself that question of how should I price my rooms on the OTAs? Really the question is, how should I price my rooms on my website if I'm getting the same amount for the OTAs? And also the kind of downfall of that is you may be pricing people out of making a reservation with you because it may be now out of their price point and they would have been fine booking with you at your regular rate and hopefully, again, becoming a direct customer later on down the road. Let's also talk about some digital deal sites like Groupon, Living Social, and the others that are out there. I know a lot of local places have digital deal sites. Here in Portland, Maine, we have a thing that our local paper does called Deal Chicken, and it's the same exact idea behind on and Living Social. But these really, they let you advertise a promotion to a large number of guests very quickly, but usually you are paying a very large commission or offering a very large discount on that. So you may be getting heads in beds. It may be affecting your occupancy report because your occupancy has gone up, but they could also very easily kill your ADR and your RevPAR as well because you're selling those rooms at such a discount, especially when you then apply the commission on top of that of what you're paying to them. But there are some benefits. They may be useful if you have some time of really low demand and you want to get people in. I look at it as more of a way to build my customer list, that it's an expense to build my customer list so that I can get more people in here that I can then direct a market to next year, months down the road, so that they become return visitors, return guests that are paying me 100% as opposed to all the discount that I had to do. Or I can market that discount to them, but I'm saving on the commission that I would have paid to the deal site. Another nice thing about working with them is you do receive a large payment up front. Oftentimes these deals happen and you get payment for everything that was purchased from their website and you get a large lump sum of cash. It is up to the guest to then make that reservation, and if they don't make their reservation during that certain amount of time that you offered the deal, then they're out. You don't have to worry about them as a guest. The only thing I'll say is just check your local laws on that, because sometimes with gift certificates, for some states, a gift certificate, the paid value can never expire. So how can you use these effectively? Only offer them during certain dates when you need the assistance to book your rooms. If your property is quiet in the wintertime, but you are completely booked every room every night from the end of May to the end of October, do not offer these deals during your high season when you know you're going to be able to book these rooms. You want to gain yield during your slower seasons, so offer them during those slower seasons. One time when I did one of these deals, I did a Sunday through Thursday night stays only. I still didn't allow for my weekends, and that was only in the months of January and February. And it worked out. It got some people into the door during a time when we would be quiet and we had rooms to, in essence, give away to gain more people for my customer base. It is really important to not get in the cycle, at least I believe, in doing these deals year after year after year with Living Social and Groupon. You're just making them more money. People are going to wait to see that Groupon or that Living Social deal to come out. You really want to focus on once they've brought you that customer, that you want to remarket to that guest to book directly with you next time so that you're making that money directly. And the last thing I want to say about the digital deal sites is that these are usually good options for businesses that are just starting out. If you're a new business, this is a great way to get some local press, especially if you do one of the local deals. Whether it be your local newspaper, local NBC, ABC affiliate, however it works in your area. This is a really great way to get your name out there. It's also a really great way to start building that customer list so you can direct market to them. And we all know that probably the hardest year we were in business was the first year, and the second hardest year was probably our second year in business. We do a lot of things to just try to build that customer base so that we can start marketing to them. But once we start getting that customer base, we get to rely on these, we don't have to rely on these digital deal sites as heavily or at all. Another way that we can increase yield is to sell additional items and packages to your guests. Today, people are traveling and they want to have an experience when they're traveling, not just book a room. So we want to make sure that we're in your booking engine, that you have the ability to upsell packages to people. In this case, maybe a lover's package. We're able to see the best available rate, but we can also see that lover's package. You'll also want to, in this screenshot, we don't have a description, but I would recommend having a description here to say what they're getting in addition to that in that lover's package compared to the best available rate. You can also have upsellable items or upsellable packages that are add-on items where we see the full cost of that item that they can add to their package. People do want to make their trip special. They do want to have more of an experience while they're traveling with you as opposed to just booking a room. We do have a couple more slides, so I'm going to go through the last few a little quicker so that we can get to some questions if there are any up there. So the next idea that I want to talk about is this TrevPAR, which is the total revenue per room, per available room. Which in this case, the TrevPAR number is going to be really great for you to compare year to year that total revenue over the number of rooms that are available. So this is a great formula for looking at your total. It's a report that I really haven't seen anywhere else, but the TrevPAR itself really gives you a better idea of the total health of your business once we start adding in rooms, fees, packages, items, all of that. Some other tips, call to action buttons. To increase your yield on your web page, the call to action buttons are your book now, your check availability, make reservation, whatever your button says on your website. But you want to have that properly placed on your website where guests are expecting to see it. There's been tons of market research about, we can do A/B testing, we can do but there's some solid things that we know. When you have a Book Now button on the homepage in the upper right-hand corner, that's where people are looking to do an action. So if your call to action button is not there, I would suggest talking to your web designer to move it there and to have it in other locations throughout your website as well. We want to, the upper right-hand corner is a very hot spot on the homepage of a website. And we want to get people into your booking engine because that's when they are going to, the booking engine is the only place at the end where they're going to provide their credit card information and accept your policies and confirm their reservation. Also on the homepage of your website, to help increase yield, I want you to make sure that you have the name of your property, your address, your phone number, and your website as well. I know it sounds a little strange, but there are a lot of websites out there. I can't even tell where their property is. I don't know what state they're in. I don't know what city they're in. And I don't know how to contact them if I had a question or if I was one of those guests who likes to prefer or who prefers to book a reservation over the phone. It's actually very frustrating for me in my job when I go to a website and I can't even tell. I work East Coast. I don't know if you're a West Coast based business because it doesn't even tell me where your inn is located. This is important information. Again, Lisa and Pat probably already talked about the importance of why you need this on your website just for website placement in Google, but it's also just a practical thing. People want to know where you are easily and how they get a hold of you. And if you experience a high number of calls to your property, I really do want you to check and think about the effectiveness of your booking engine. And consider adding a voicemail message that says that guests can book online also if they with your web address so that they can find you and go ahead and make their reservation, especially if they're calling after hours. One of the tips I usually give people is to go into your booking engine and actually try to make a reservation at your property. See how easy it is for you. A lot of us walk into it and we made that decision to use that booking engine years ago. And we thought that it was the greatest technology at the time, and now and we haven't gone into our booking engines in years to actually see what guests experience when they go there. But go there, try to make a reservation for yourself, and ask yourself: was this easy? Was it hard? Do I wish it looked some other way? Was it intuitive? And that can probably answer a lot of questions of why, if you're a property that gets a lot of phone calls with people saying, "Hey, I'm in your booking engine," or I'm trying to make a reservation online rather, and I'm having a problem. You can see exactly where they get snagged up, because I bet that you'll probably get snagged up there too. I'm going to quickly talk about photography also, and this is the last part of my presentation. But photography is really important to yield. Beyond the investment in your actual property, I think the 3 areas that you can best invest in your property that always pay for themselves is a great website. We know the brands that are out there that help with bed and breakfast websites that really focus on the needs of small lodging, boutique hotels, bed and breakfast. We all know the major brands out there. And we often are shocked when we see the price of it. But any customer that I've worked with, myself included, having gone through several of them, every dollar I have invested in that has been paid back within that year in increased reservations and increased web presence and people coming to my site. So it's a great place to spend money. To have a great website, you also need to have great photography. Again, photography, there's great people in our industry that specialize in bed and breakfast, small lodging property photography. They do amazing work, and you should reach out to them. Again, there is a bit of a sticker shock when you see the price for it, but you will get that money back year after year after year because people are shopping. They aren't reading, they're shopping based on pictures, so you want to have great pictures up there. And the last thing I'll just throw out there is having an easy-to-use booking engine as well, which is going to be the least expensive of all those options. But it's if you make it really easy for them to make a reservation online from your great-looking website with your great-looking photographs, their booking confidence is going to go through the roof at that point. So let's talk about photography. There's really only 3 areas that you need to focus in your property: your rooms, property photos, and food photos. Why are they important to the website? Having a great room photo is going to make people feel like they can see themselves in that room, that they want to be in that room, that they want to purchase that room, they want to experience they want to purchase that experience of living in that space. So having great room photos and photos that really represent what your room really looks like. It's the worst thing in the world when you walk into a room and it looks nothing like the way you pictured it or it was presented to you when you were purchasing it online. Another is the property photos. To give a look and feel of what your property is going to feel like while they're there. And making sure that these, as you make updates, that these photos are fresh as well. In this case, we decided to put down an awful lot of money on getting all Ethan Allen furniture for our living room. And this is a half shot of our living room from a perspective shot, but we wanted to make sure that we were giving them the look and feel of what our living room looked like now. Before, it used to be this tomato soup red, and we had some very big, bulky furniture, and our lighting was terrible for the pictures that were taken. They were very dark. So this really, we did a lot of work to lighten up the inn, and our photos really show that they lightened up the inn. And the last thing is food photos. If you're a bed and breakfast owner and you're serving, well, of course you're serving breakfast, we all know that people eat with their eyes first. And if something looks really good, it's going to probably taste really good to them also. It gives us a little bit of room to make mistakes. But if you can't sell them with your room photos, if you can't sell them with their property photos, go straight for the stomach. That usually works very, very well. So as you get photography done, also get some shots of the food that you use. Also, do not use other websites' photographs. And today, those photographs are tagged, and the person who owns that photograph is going to find it. The photographer who took it is going to find it. And if it doesn't represent your brand, you don't want to fake your guests out. You want to really show what you have. If you have a breakfast buffet, there's a property that I work with that does not serve breakfast, but they have this beautiful breakfast buffet. And they had that breakfast buffet shot so that I was like, I'm a person who loves to go to a bed and breakfast and sit down and have a hot breakfast. But after seeing the shots of their food, of their breakfast buffet, I feel totally comfortable booking there because I know I'm going to have a great breakfast while I'm there. So that's the end of what I have. I'm going to let Patty open it up to any questions, if there were any that have come in. My contact information is right here. You're welcome to give me a call or shoot me an email if you have any questions about today's presentation. Patty, from my understanding, is also going to be emailing that out to you. And if you'd like to talk more about how Think Reservations can help your business, going over some of the topics that we've spoken with today, I definitely encourage you to reach out to us or to check out our website, www.thinkreservations.com. So Patty, if you want to jump back in, you're more than welcome.
Well, thank you. I learned a lot. That was a very good presentation. I don't have any questions that came through, but it looks like they have the contact information, and I'm so glad you did this. So thank you very much, and everybody will receive, actually the link that they originally had, we'll link them into the recording so they can view it again at any time. So thanks everybody, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.